listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast, a podcast by diehard fans for fans. Mark covers all things Penn State football and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as anything related to the sports and fitness world. Tune in weekly to listen to a couple of dedicated fans talk about these topics without filters. Thank you for listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
All right, everybody. Welcome back in to another episode of the Mark Lesko Podcast Daily Show. Just me today, as usual, with the Daily Show. So I just wanted to talk the Steelers right now. A couple things. Najee Harris spoke out about the facilities. Pretty much said the facilities sucked. Didn't have resources. And then his latest quote was, "We just didn't know anything on offense, really. We didn't have any identity. We had a young guy coming in at QB. I really don't have nobody to almost learn from on the offensive side." So yeah, I think he should speak. It's his right. I wish him the best. He wasn't good for us. You know, Jared made a good point on Steelers Central that he ran for, I think, 1,000 yards like every year. But he just wasn't there, man. So, Mikey, what's up, man? Mikey, if you can you comment on Rumble? That's pretty much where I'm answering comments, but it's Mikey, so I'll pull it up. And Mikey, on his podcast, Straight from the Krez, he had Bo Nickel on like a week after Bo Nickel was on Joe Rogan. So congrats, Mike. That was a great interview. Mike, I want Aaron Rodgers for sure, because I think he gives us the best chance to win. I think we can contend for a Super Bowl with him. I've said that before on the Daily Show, but Aaron Rodgers for sure. For a couple reasons. Doesn't have Rumble yet. Yeah, definitely get it, Mike. It's free speech YouTube. It's right down your alley. Fellow Trump guy. So, but yeah, Aaron Rodgers for several reasons. I have a lot of respect for his ability. I have a lot of respect for him as a person. I think if he comes to the Steelers, like any player, they're going to put their head down and go to work. They have a good staff. They always have. They develop guys. Half our roster is like 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks. The development of players is there historically. Chase Claypool, 2nd rounder. Antonio Brown, 6th rounder. Juju, 2nd rounder. Pickens, 2nd rounder. So, yeah, we develop guys. So the staff historically has done that well. Aaron Rodgers, I think, literally puts us in contention for a Super Bowl if he can come in and play, which I think he will do well on the Steelers. Maybe not another team, but on the Steelers he will. That's just Aaron Rodgers. So that's who I want. Jared made a good point on Steelers Central about Mason Rudolph maybe righting some wrongs with him. I kind of disagree with that in the sense that I don't think we necessarily did anything wrong to the guy. He wasn't good enough to start, and he never did for us unless someone was hurt. And he had Big Ben in front of him. And we all know that Big Ben wasn't the greatest mentor and didn't help him really, no matter what he says. So, yeah, with Mason, we'll see if he's the starter. We'll see how that goes. For DK, it's like if you planned a vacation and you have these nice pictures on the website and you're like, oh man, this looks nice. And you get there and it's horrible. That's kind of what we're doing to DK right now. Like, DK, you're coming in, you're going to be here, probably retire a Steeler. He's going to be here long term, 5 years, $150 million. And we have maybe Jackson Dart, and then Mason Rudolph. I mean, that's the best we can do for him, really. So, yeah, it's a good question. Do you think Metcalf will make an immediate impact? It depends on who the quarterback is, I think. You know, him and Mason, I'm sure right now. I don't know exactly how it works right now with practices and stuff. And, you know, I don't know all that much. I don't know as much about the NFL as I do college, but I'm sure they're practicing. And Mason is practicing with him, making him his target. So, in a sense, yeah, I think he'll make an impact regardless, but I think he'll have more of an impact and have more targets if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. And then, you know, if you want to keep Mason as our future, fine. You know, that's okay. He can learn under Rodgers. He's got to learn regardless of whether Rodgers mentors him or not. So, yeah, I think either way he's going to make an impact, but he's going to make more of an impact, and there will be less drama if we have an Aaron Rodgers as our quarterback, as crazy as that sounds, because he's a vet. So, yeah. We go from, and I'm going to get into Justin Fields too, but we go from a pretty good roster last year, pretty good season that collapsed at the end. So we had a good season. I mean, we didn't do bad. We actually did pretty damn good. So if you take that pretty much same roster with DK and maybe Ibuka in the first round to an Aaron Rodgers-led team, we're 100% contenders for the Super Bowl, as long as he plays well. And here's another thing about this. If he comes in and does horribly, the Steelers haven't had a losing season under Mike Tomlin. But they could do really bad and then get a good pick and then go for Arch Manning, which is ultimately who I want. I want Arch Manning or Drew Aller, one of those pro-ready quarterbacks. And we don't know how it's going to work out next year. Drew Aller could have a Heisman season. Anybody, just about anybody on our offense. Well, I should say, like, between Singleton and Aller, they could have a Heisman season. We have Tony Rojas. There's a lot of opportunity there for Penn State to not only win a national title, but possibly have a standout player like an Aller or a Singleton run for the Heisman. So that's ultimately what I want them to do next year is get a young franchise quarterback. And that could happen with Rodgers if they don't do well. But I think he comes in. I think he does go to the Steelers. If he doesn't go to the Steelers, he's going to retire. He's not going to the Giants. There's no point in that. I know he has property in New York already because he's with the Jets. So that's a factor. But he's either going to retire or go to the Steelers. And if he wants to run for a Super Bowl at the end of his career, it could happen this year, it could happen next year, come to the Steelers. And I think that's what Rodgers will do. So I saw a breakdown of our potential weapons next year on Instagram. It was like Aaron Rodgers, a running back from North Carolina. I can't remember his name. And then it was Jaylen Warren, DK, George Pickens, Roman Wilson, and then Pat Freiermuth. We also have Darnell Jacobs. So that would be a pretty stacked lineup. I think they'll go for Ollie Gordon. There were some character issues in the past with him with the DUI and everything, which, you know, that happens. So maybe that they don't go with him for that reason. But I think Ollie Gordon, who at one point was projected to be a first-round pick, I mean, he's a good talent. I think they get him in the draft. And I hope that they go receiver and then running back. Ibuka in the first round and then Ollie Gordon at some point. They're probably going to go D-line, probably go corner, maybe get another receiver. We'll see. But receiver-wise, as long as we get Ibuka, we're pretty set. But they definitely need a running back, too. We don't really have one right now. But, yeah, to answer your question, Mike, definitely Aaron Rodgers. Obviously doesn't have the accolades that Tom Brady does, but we're pretty much getting a Tom Brady, you know, when he went to the Bucs. That's what's happening. We're getting a guy who's at the end of his career, you know, leaving a team and coming to a pretty decent roster to make a Super Bowl run. So, Tom, he brought Antonio Brown, and he was not the Steelers' Antonio Brown. He's still very good. And he brought Gronk. But that roster was already pretty good. I mean, they had AQ on the line. They had Leonard Fournette. They had JPP on the line. I think it was White at linebacker. So they didn't have like a bad roster. They had a good coach too, former Steeler coach, and Bruce Arians. So, it's kind of a similar situation where if he comes to the Steelers, that really does give him the best opportunity to leave on a high note at the end of his career. I think we're going to get 2 years out of Rodgers if he comes to the Steelers. Say they do really well this year, I think he comes back next year. Or if they win a Super Bowl this year, I know that's a long stretch, but he could go out with a ring on his finger, a second one. So ultimately, I think that's what happens. I think that's what I want to happen. But besides that, at the end of the day, what I want them to do is get a franchise quarterback in the draft next year. It's going to be a pretty stacked quarterback class. If Arch comes out, Drew will be coming out for sure. I don't think Drew used all of his red shirt, so I guess he could potentially come back after that. But at the same time, I don't think that's possible. I think he did use all of his red shirt his freshman year. Either way, I think Drew Aller's out this year, next year after this season. So, and on top of that, as Steelers fans, we got to kind of look at the big picture. Like, all right, so we went, I think, like 4-2 with Justin Fields. We lost to 2 bad teams. Shouldn't have done that. And we were doing really well, and then they put Wilson in. And I was talking to Jared last night. I think that if Fields stayed in, I think we would have actually made a run in the playoffs and didn't collapse at the end. I mean, he's younger. He doesn't take a sack when there's a lineman within 10 yards of him like Wilson does. Pretty much Wilson snaps the ball and then just falls down. That's how he takes sacks. He did that a lot. Justin Fields wouldn't have been doing that. So besides the accuracy, I think we would have been a lot better if Fields would have stayed in. He did really well. I think he earned the starting spot. But Mike Tomlin stepped in, of course, and ruined all that like he does just about everything. That was a Tomlin decision for sure. But, Fields, he signed a 2-year, $40 million deal. That's a lot of money. So clearly he's wanted. Wilson has not signed yet, and he's not wanted. So that tells you another thing there. It's like, all right, so Justin Fields pretty much immediately signed a multi-million-dollar deal elsewhere to be a franchise quarterback for the Jets, and Wilson still hasn't been signed. I mean, that kind of tells you everything you need to know right there. We already knew that as Steelers fans, but it just sucks that they didn't keep him in, because I think if they did, it'd be a different story right now. Probably would have had at least one playoff win. I don't know. I think they could have beaten Baltimore. The offense needs to score points. Like Penn State, the offense is the issue. They need to score points. Steelers have a great defense. They're good. They got Darius Slay as well, and they're getting some defensive line depth there. But like in Penn State on defense, like they're good. Rojas, Denai, Saki, Wheatley, AJ Harris. I mean, they got legit guys on the defense. They got King Mack back, who's definitely going to be in the rotation. So, and Penn State in particular keeping that same defense with Jim Knowles, who is also with us now. 4-2-5. That's a great defense. But we got some stars on the defense on Penn State. We got some stars on the defense for the Steelers. The offense just needs to score points. That's it. Offense is the issue. Penn State needs to get their shit together. They need to score more points. The Steelers need to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers who could come in and put up some points. But more than anything right now, I want it for DK. I want him to have a good veteran leader at quarterback that has been there and done that, won a Super Bowl, been one of the best in the league, probably first ballot Hall of Famer, and Aaron Rodgers. That'd be a good fit for him. So I want it for DK more than anything. But yeah, a source monitoring Aaron Rodgers' potential decision about the 2025 season that he's not in a rush at all. I said that before. Yeah, he's not in a rush. Let the man make a decision. He has a lot on the line right now. He could retire. He could sign. Of course, the media has been blowing it up. But again, like this guy just literally is just chilling on a beach listening to music, and the media is just in a frenzy about what he's going to do. It's like, just let the man alone. Let him make a decision. He's not stupid. He's going to probably make a good decision, and that is either sign with the Steelers or retire. That's it. I'm glad the Vikings aren't in the picture anymore. I didn't want him to go there. So if you're Aaron Rodgers, I got to think that he's pondering the fact, like, man, if I go to Pittsburgh, I got DK Metcalf and George Pickens and a solid defense. What more could you ask for? I got Mike Tomlin as the head coach. They would mesh well. You got Arthur Smith, former head coach, as the O coordinator. And with Aaron Rodgers, it doesn't really matter who he has at running back, which I think will be Jaylen Warren starting, and then they'll have a rookie in Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, he had a running back in Green Bay. He was like number 88 or something. Like, I don't even remember the guy's name, but 88 for a running back, like, that's a ridiculous number. So we're going to be passing the ball a lot, as we should. But I just thought that I don't know if, because they brought in DK immediately, literally the Monday of free agency, which was just the tampering period or whatever it's called. And then Wednesday, it didn't officially open, I don't think, until Wednesday of free agency. So they got him before that. So I got to think, as a fan, like, they had a plan, like Aaron Rodgers is coming in. And the Steelers, I saw a story where they are going to be patient and just wait for him to make a decision. So, like, stuff like this guy loves the attention they keep giving him. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's true. Again, the media blows up everything, and I knew this was going to happen. He's in no rush. He's in no rush. Last year, he didn't even go to camp. He went to camp late, I think, which I would hope if they do sign him that he doesn't do that. He comes in and gets work with the guys. As good as he is, he still needs to mesh with his new team. So then the Jets, I don't know why they let him go. They have Justin Fields now. Like, they went from Aaron Rodgers to Justin Fields. I don't know how Justin Fields is going to do with the Jets either. I don't think he'll do that well. Again, if you come to the Steelers, you're going to be better. But just overall, I think that, you know, if he comes here, he needs to come get into camp and mesh with his guys. DK is a standout receiver, and he deserves a good quarterback. He's going to be good on the Steelers. He's going to be a good deep threat. George Pickens is a deep threat too, but we really haven't had anybody who can throw a good deep ball to him recently. So Najee said what he said. You know, he deserves to see what he says. He deserves to speak. I think he's a vet. The Steelers need to clean some things up in the facilities, apparently, because they're not that good. And you could tell on offense, if we didn't have like an identity on offense last year, and we still did what we did, then, man, that tells you something too. So the Steelers, like with Antonio Brown, like, they covered that up totally. I mean, that guy fell off the rails after he left very quickly. So he careened off the road over a cliff into a river very quickly. He's not even playing anymore. So, but he did get a ring with the Bucs, which is cool. But and he had a touchdown in that game, Super Bowl. But it's the Steelers cover it up, apparently. To have bad facilities and then not have an identity on offense, you know, they collapsed at the end. But, man, they had a really tough schedule. But, again, with Justin Fields, I don't think that happens. And then if Aaron Rodgers does come in, I think he does well. That's just my opinion. I think it's going to be a good fit for him, and it'll be a good place for him to go. And I think him and Tomlin will be a good match for sure. Tomlin, good character guy, molder of men. So I think it's almost inevitable. I mean, if you really think about it, why wouldn't Aaron Rodgers go to the Steelers? Where else would he go? I think it's just kind of destiny that he would come here. Knock on wood that's a good destiny, but he's got to be a good fit for them. So that's my thoughts there on that. And overall, it's just a waiting game now. At the end of the day, it's just a waiting game on Rodgers. So hope he comes to the Steelers. Hopefully they clean up the facilities and make things better for the players, and then they actually get an identity on offense. I think they had it with Fields. They had a mobile guy that could also run, even though I think his calling ultimately is running back. He should be running back. He should be a running back, Justin Fields. He's a great runner. He'd have to put on some weight, obviously, if he was a running back, but yeah. It's just all playing out like I predicted, like Jared predicted. If they go with Mason, again, it's like, are they just going for a winning season for Tomlin to get them to the Hall of Fame? Because like Jared and I were talking about last night, the only two groups of people that like Tomlin are his family and the Rooneys. That's it. The fans don't like him. I guess the players like him. Like Franklin, the players always say they like them. Sometimes I wonder why, but it's interesting. It's an interesting time for them. So if Rodgers comes, we're in contention. If he doesn't come, God knows what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of drama with the Mason Rudolph quarterback, DK and Pickens. There's going to be a lot of drama. So I hope he makes his decision soon. He comes here, and then, we make our run. That's it. That's really all I have to say. Najee, another guy, I don't think he's going to do that well at the Chargers. John Gruden said he would want him if he was a head coach. Harbaugh is his coach now. I don't think he does much with them either. He's just not that good. He's not fast. He doesn't have much agility. He looks like he's running in slow motion half the time. So we'll see how that plays out too. But Steelers fans, be patient. I think we're going to get our guy in Rodgers. I think ultimately he'll make that decision to come here and hopefully leave with a ring. So that's all I got for today, guys, pretty much. Mike, thanks for commenting. Again, check out his podcast. Mike was on my podcast about a week. Well, not a week. Mike was on my podcast for the Steelers-Cowboys game last year. And then I saw Bo Nickel on Joe Rogan talking about golfing with Trump and everything. And then he was on Mike's podcast. Pretty cool. So, pretty cool. Till next time, guys, Daily Show. Again, try to have content up daily. Going to have a live episode playing, pre-recorded later on. And then, doing a show with Brett tomorrow. And then Steelers Central again. So keep an eye out for all that. But until next time, guys, take care. Have a good weekend.